6. I'll call to order the January 13th, 2021 meeting of the Ware Conservation Commission. I'm the chairman, Andy Fulton. I believe everybody is joining via Zoom tonight. I'm at my my home at 37 Hemlock Drive. We've got Steve here, Bill, Mike, Sherry, and our newest member, Ray LeMay. Good to have you, Ray.
Thank you.
And if you just give me a second, I need to dig up the agenda that Naomi prepared. So with that, just hold on, and if there's anybody who has a preamble or items to say about tonight's meeting, feel free to take the conversation while I just do a little lookup. Sure. Can you still hear me?
I could hear you, Andy.
Okay. It's hard to know when I'm looking at a screen and not sure on that. So let's go ahead and take a look at the December 9th minutes, last meeting. And if anybody, I have one comment on the minutes. Let's see if I can click the right spot here. The second page down towards the very bottom, in the non-public section, end of the middle paragraph, we have the roll call vote. We want to change David to Davis for Lori's vote. You got that, Naomi?
Yes, I do, Andy. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody see anything else? Boy, I gotta be careful where I click. Almost click the leave button. If you have something to say, go ahead and unmute yourself. But not hearing anything more. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as received and edited?
Yes, so Steve, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as received and edited.
And a second?
I can second that.
Thank you, Ray. With that, I'll say unmute yourselves all, and we'll go for all in favor. Please say yes. Yes.
Andy, I don't think I can vote on this because I don't think I was at the last meeting.
All right, I'll catch you. Hold on a second. I think I heard Steve. I don't think I heard Bill or Mike.
I'm a yes. I didn't chime in yet.
I'm a yes.
Got Mike.
I'm a yes. This is Bill.
Thank you, Bill. And you're all set, Steve?
Yeah, I was a yes. Yeah.
I thought so. Okay. Anybody not approve?
I'm going to abstain, Andy, because I don't believe I.
Yep. We've got Sherry. Anybody abstain? Sherry is abstaining as she was not present. So thank you, Sherry. Let's take a look at our planning board items. There's a lot line adjustment, tax map 406, lots 32 and 33. This is South Sugar Hill Road. And this is moving 14.5 acres from 33 to 32, leaving lot 33 with 6 acres, and scheduled to go to planning board next month on the 25th. And I think we've got that as an attachment. And if you see my head looking funny, I'm trying to figure out how to rotate this. Maybe up here. Upside down, keep going. Here we go. So encourage everybody to find that attachment, take a look at it. Let me know if you have any comments, having already perused it, or take a few minutes now to take a look at it. We got, I'll keep talking. Anybody else can chime in also, but we've got Tom Carr's wetland stamp on there, dated last month, so that's good. And if anybody has any background information, feel free to add that too.
Andy, as far as discussion on this thing, you know, it seems like, I guess, you know, I have a question or a concern, and that's, so we're taking a parcel that's in the rural conservation zone, 14.5 acres, and we're annexing it onto a commercial property, which is a different zoning, and there's a zone line. So it's like, does that even make sense as a town to allow that? To have a mixed use parcel that wasn't already existing? And then, you know, the second part of my comment is that the purpose of the plan is not upfront because they're also apparently developing a house lot here because you've got a proposed driveway and all of the fixings there for a house lot, you know, the,
On 33-1,
yes, the one that we're taking the 14.5 acres away from.
right.
So concerned that, you know, it's just not upfront with, you know, what they're actually doing, but really concerned about allowing them to create a mixed use parcel. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, it wouldn't stay mixed, would it? It would have to be it would all have to go commercial. They're moving it
I don't-
into commercial lot.
Can you
No.
do that just
And
by
I
a
don't
lot
know
line
if it's
adjustment?
I don't know if that's legal.
No, the zone line is the zone line. I don't think they can do that, can they? Is it the lot or is it the actual line, like you know, is that line, you'd have to go back to the zoning maps, but just because you add on to a different parcel, I would hope that doesn't change the zoning.
Can Naomi speak to that at all? Because she used to deal with.
Yeah, it doesn't. When we did the lot line adjustment down by Bolton Field, Mrs. Woods annexed a piece of property to the Buxton property. And we actually just ran into the problem, and the surveyor that did the lot line adjustment, it was taken to add it to the commercial piece, and it's totally not commercial. So we had to record something at the registry that only a portion of it is commercial and the rest still stays in conservation or current use. So there you can, I mean, it's happened quite frequently because the front portion of it is commercial, the back portion is not. So it happens because you have to refer to the zoning map. Now that the zoning map is digitized, it's a little bit better than it used to be, the old drawing. But you still can have a mixed use, a mixed zone parcel. I mean, there's several of them in town.
And we allow people to create new ones like this?
I don't think it would have changed since we did the one around Bolton Field, because we did a combination. We got a corner of the Buxton property. He got 10 or 11 acres from Mrs. Wood. So we kind of did all of a lot line adjustment so that we could make the field a uniform field size for the soccer corner. But then he also went to Mrs. Woods before the town got the donation from her or purchased it from her. And so his property is mixed use. And the bank is the one that needed the letter so that it's not 11 acres of commercial. There's only, 1 acre of commercial and the rest is in current use. But I mean, that was created well into zoning because that hasn't been that old.
Yeah.
So basically, they cannot use the entire lot for commercial use if they were going to develop it then, right?
I would say that's correct, yes. But it's way, way in the back anyway. I don't know, But the zone line doesn't change unless they want to go to town meeting and finish doing that part.
Right.
Yeah.
Does anybody know the deeper purpose other than, sure, it's a lot line adjustment and that's what lot line adjustments accomplish?
Well, they
I
are
don't-
creating a house lot, like Steve said. But they're creating a 6-acre lot versus, and I believe it has largely to do with the zone of it. I'm trying to think, I can't see it in my, because rural agricultural now has a 5-acre minimum, if you remember.
Right.
So they used the frontage on Sugar Hill, and I'm sure that it looks like there's quite a bit of wet there. So to make it dry or a good sized lot, that's why your 6 acres come into it. But it is going to be a house lot at some point. I don't know for sale, for family. I don't know any of those details.
So Naomi, you just said that if you're in a agricultural area that you have to have 5 acres now? Is that something new?
No, Town Aware voted on that quite a few years ago.
Oh,
And I haven't knowingly stated it. I probably did, but both parcels are under same ownership.
I mean, if they've
So
already set,
it's not a transfer from one owner to another owner. It's the same owner. So. Okay, any other thoughts on the plan?
well,
I see I haven't mentioned it, but I did see the 25-foot wetland buffer on there. At least in the detail, the lot, the now 6-acre lot or to be 6-acre lot with the detail on the wetlands shows the buffer, which apparently is where the interest going forward looks to be in it. That would make sense that it creates a residential lot of some value that could be used for residential or transferred, sold for residential. I don't think we have anything that says you can't
yeah, I don't think,
create a building lot that requires a variance from the buffer to get the driveway through.
Actually, Andy, they went to the zoning board last Tuesday. I think Kelly forwarded you guys the application. They went to get a crossing for the driveway.
That's already in the works. Okay,
That they were approved to that. They still got to get through DES.
sure. Okay, good to know. So it's moving along. I don't know. I think we have an understanding now. Or at least I
Yeah.
feel I have an understanding what's going on there. And it really looks like, from what I can see, things are in order. Any other thoughts on that?
well,
So I will pass word to Craig that we reviewed plan and it seems in order from what we reviewed.
yeah.
Okay, let's take a look at the second planning board item. This is 158 Deering Ware LLC, the paintball parcel.
Yeah,
It's a site plan review, Deering Center Road, tax map 411, lot 21. Plan to expand the existing park with site improvements, stormwater management, some paving, and proposal to bring on some catering, presumably for the participants, some food services. Let me see, paintball site. So take a look at that plan titled paintball site.
Andy, that's a very detailed plan. I think there's 5 or 6 pages to it with all the drainage, and it was done by Meridian.
That's, yeah, you did a fantastic job bringing this one through in a form that we can look at that detail. It looks like they must have, Meridian must have submitted a nice PDF for it. So
Yeah, they did.
that is excellent. Glad to see that. Makes it so much better. Glad you didn't have to try to scan anything. So maybe I can take a look at the notes. Purpose of the plan is to depict existing observable conditions. I already stated the owner of record. Property is located in the rural ag district. Subject to the rural conservation area overlay, historic district overlay. There was field surveying done in the late fall. Parcel is located within zone 10, area of minimal flood hazard per FEMA. Wetlands were delineated by the Army Corps manual by Tom Carr, who has stamped and dated his stamp on the plan. So that's taken care of. It's a plan, another one by Meridian. Now, Naomi, how do these sort of existing conditions plans, how are they utilized by the planning board? Is there an approval or what does the planning board need to do with this plan?
So he's applied for a site plan review because he's changing what was originally approved back, if you remember, there was a house there and stuff. So the house has been taken down. He's changing his parking. So he's making modifications to a previously approved site plan, which is why they've asked him to come back and show the existing conditions, which is honestly how he bought it, and then what he's planning on doing. But that doesn't mean he's going to do it tomorrow or 6 months. He just put everything on paper as to what he'd like to see the vision. But it is a modification, so he's paid for the modification plans once, whether he does it in the course of the next few years. But they've asked him to come back because it's a change or alter from the original plan that was approved.
Gotcha. Thank you. I see a 25-foot wetland buffer. Side lot setbacks, front setbacks. Wetland delineations. And I suppose just in general, our point of interest here is that, do we notice anything that might be a cause for conservation concern down the road? Do we have any suggestions based on a few minutes with the plan? Do we have any concerns to share with the planning board and the owner? So it's a lot of detail to take in here.
If you,
Certainly with, go ahead.
if you look at the plan that shows the proposed parking and they got grading lines on there and catch basins, there's nothing that directs the flow into those catch basins that I can see. All of the flow is going sheet flow directly into the delineated wetland. There's a detention basin down at the bottom of the plan there, but there's no way for the water to get to it. Normally on a parking lot drainage plan, you have everything going to a catch basin away from the wetlands, not here. Unless I'm missing something, most of the plans I see don't look like this.
At a minimum, some sort of sediment trap.
Right. You can see where they show filter sock typical, but that's usually for construction. I don't know if that's going to be permanent, because if it's permanent, they'd have to replace it every few months because it fills up with silt. But for construction, that would be fine. But after construction, I'm not seeing anywhere to divert the water into the catch basins. You see the grade lines, 508, and then 508, 504, 502. So there's 4 feet of difference in grade from where the catch basins are down to the wetlands in the low area.
Yeah, how about that HDPE piping? Looks like they got 12-inch piping going from each catch basin.
Yes. And that would be fine if the grade lines were all headed in the direction of the catch basins, but they're basically just flowing right over them. Anything that falls in the parking lot to the right of those catch basins is not going anywhere near the catch basins. It's going to flow away directly into the delineated wet area.
All right, so
Yep, following you there. Yep.
the existing grade are the dashed lines. The proposed grade are solid lines with the elevation within rectangles, correct?
Correct.
They have the actual percent slope and the direction of flow marked in those boxes, right? The, like it's 5%, 5.6, you got 5.6 in a couple of places. So I can see what Ray's saying. I mean, it looks like they purposely just have it all pitched off going, you know, to the east, assuming that thing's oriented north, south, east, and west.
Sure.
And that's where the water's been running right along, because that parking area they got down there now, it's all just runs to the off to the side.
Yeah, definitely. You can see by the existing contour lines, and they redesigned it basically to straighten it out and make it the same way. But I'm not up on the laws of what needs to be done. Most of the parking lots I've ever built, when they're going to redo the parking lot, they have to conform to all the wetland area. Now, if there was a curbing along the lower end of that parking lot, if it was paved, which I don't believe it's going to be, then they could have catch basins along that curb and take the drainage away. But this is all going directly
Into
they
the
have a
wet-
really
that's-
big- yeah,
That's a natural flow there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So because it's already existing, is that why they redesigned it this way, or?
I thought the law was, and Naomi probably knows a little more about it than I would, but I thought the laws is that you can't build a parking lot and let the water run off into a wetland.
No,
That's against the law, I think, to do that, so.
All right, that's certainly a comment I will pass along to Craig. Appreciate your eyes on that, Ray. Will there be, can anybody tell whether there will be new wetland buffer impact or whether it's all pre-existing as far as adjusting the landscape out there?
unless I'm reading the plan wrong, most of the new parking lot that we just looked at is wooded now. I mean, on this plan here, I forgot what plan it is, but I'm looking at the existing plan. And there's a small gravel parking area down near the bottom of it. Is that going to be the new one also? Let me check.
Well, they cleared off on, if you're looking at the building to the left, there's a small parking area, but beyond that, there's a area that they cleared this last year and took all the wood off, and they're gonna stump it, and I believe that's where the parking lot's gonna be.
So that's a doubling of parking spaces or somewhere along
Yeah.
that line. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a pretty significant change in land surface utilization.
So did they just
Go ahead.
clear cut that whole thing? Because that's a violation of the wetlands buffer if they did.
They didn't clear, no, they didn't clear cut where it's wet. They just clear cut on that upper end, which
Yeah, on the
isn't
upper-
wet.
On
On
the
the-
upper end. I just lost something.
It's right along the road. They didn't go back with it. It was just along the road area.
If you look at the existing plan, the tree line is on the bottom quarter of that artificial turf paintball field.
Yeah.
And if you look at the next plan, the new parking lot extends far beyond the higher part of it. So they had to have cleared a bunch of trees there to do this.
Right.
Yeah, extending to the north along the western property boundary.
Right.
Right.
Do we have any indication of how many square feet that is?
There should be a scale on the plan, but I gotta reduce it. Let's see.
Yeah, the bottom left is the graphic scale.
So
Yeah, well, that's probably 100 yards north south anyways.
So 30 feet to the inch. It looks like it would be at least 150, 200 feet easy.
I don't think
Pro-
it's more, I don't think it's more than a couple of hundred, because it butts the next owner's property. It butts their stone wall. I don't know if that's,
All right, so we certainly have some interest in runoff generation with the change in the surface cover. And there's engineering proposed, although we have questions about that also, the grading.
Does it matter if the flow falls just outside the 25-foot buffer? That's how they have it designed, just outside the 25-foot buffer. Does that make it good?
It sounds like it could be constructed without buffer impact, which certainly sounds like it would be helpful as opposed to trying to drop the runoff directly into designated wetlands. I mean, that's where it's headed. It only makes sense that that's where it's headed. So it'll get there.
It'll get there. The size
Yeah.
of the drainage area and the slope on a big rainfall would definitely get the silt into the wetland area.
Right. The silt won't fall out in the basin. Some
No,
sand, sure, but not the stuff that stays in train so nicely, unless they've got some way to really slow the energy down, which is unlikely in a 12-inch pipe with a 2-inch thunderstorm. So we would like to see commentary at least on how the existing wetland might be protected from those fines, which are part of any floodwaters. But if this area doesn't typically get floodwaters, now you're introducing a change to the wetland ecosystem by potentially coating it with fine layers of silt periodically. I don't know enough to know whether that's a concern to Wetlands Bureau or necessarily detrimental. Something that I think we ought to have some discussion about, or at the planning board level. Anything else? There's a whole lot of detail there. It's hard to
Yeah.
get into it and know when to get out of it.
let's see anything.
I'm just trying to understand why they didn't put that row of catch basins on the lowest part of the parking lot. It would accomplish the same thing and catch everything. I don't know why they put it up there in the middle of nowhere.
Well, maybe that needs to get addressed. Andy, maybe you can put a note on that so they address that before maybe we can review it again.
I suspect they just missed showing the grade trying to make those catch basins effective as opposed to somewhat haphazard.
Mm.
Got one quick comment or question. I'd really like to see the, planning board should be asking for the total square footage of impact on these plans, just to make it a little easier. Because one thing I wouldn't be clear about in this situation, you have to ask someone in DES, but it seems like this construction project really goes and disturbs all the parking areas, even the existing. And I'm not sure for alteration of terrain when, if those count towards the overall square footage, or if it's just that new cleared and grubbed area. And I'm just having a hard time on guesstimating how many square feet that is. But I've seen on some other plans for other things where they will actually put in the square footage of disturbed. Maybe it's up in the notes, I don't know.
I agree, Steve, that should be mapped out or pulled off the plan.
Yeah, I don't see a note with that.
I'll move that along as a comment to Craig. How about the discharge from, I'll call it that pocket wetland at the southwest corner of the property right against 149? How about what happens to it after that that wetland takes it? Does it infiltrate at that point? Is there discharge under the road?
There may be a small culvert there. I'm not sure, because on the other side of the road, there's a old road that's, I don't believe it's used it's not used anymore, and it's growing in, but that's always wet during the spring and fall when there's any rains. That's always a wet area, so I don't know if it drains there or drains underneath, if there's a culvert there or not.
I guess there is
I don't see anything.
15-inch. Yeah, there's invert in at 494.2, out at 493.8, 42 feet long slope. So I guess there's a 15-foot. I'm spacing on what's CMP.
Corrugated metal.
Corrugated metal. Ugh.
So
Those don't necessarily last so long.
So
Wow.
the question there is, have they considered, I'm only really familiar with like Talbot's formula, and, it's in the forestry handbook, but when you look at like there are different coefficients for culvert sizing, and it's based on the land cover type. And I'm sure something like HydroCAD or whatever people are using now probably considers the same thing. So now you've gone ahead and you've taken away a sponge, the forest, and you're creating something much more flashy.
Right.
So whether that culvert can still handle that or not is, a good question.
Well, if you look at the basin that they've designed, the pipe comes out at the same level as the bottom of the basin, and then there's an outlet structure. It doesn't give an elevation for the outlet structure, but normally an outlet structure is a lot higher than the bottom of the basin. So what they're trying to do here is take whatever silty water would come into that basin, let the silt settle out, and then let the water rise. And when it rises to a certain level, supposedly it would go out the outlet structure fairly clean into the wet area, which is perfectly fine. We do it all the time. But I think that's the intent, but it still doesn't answer why the catch basins are where they are. They're not catching anything.
Right.
Right.
that goes back to that fundamental grading. And then it's hard to, the sizing, I would say the sizing is, the sizing will dictate whether there's enough residence time, if you will, in the detention basin to actually detain anything, except the coarsest fraction.
Well,
Yeah.
won't DOT have to get involved with this somewhat? Where you got the water and the wetland, when you're right there, they're right against the road, the parking area will be.
I don't know on that one. Certainly, certainly with an existing culvert, somebody's responsible for that. So if it's a culvert
Mm.
under a state road, certainly wouldn't want to touch it without DOT. Good point, Sherry.
I mean, I can take a run down there and just take a look and see if there's a culvert. I just think that there is one because it's always wet down in there on that south side of that. And right across the road from there, it's all wet during the, spring and fall.
I would have to say that whatever water, I don't believe they're adding any extra water to that culvert. The water always used to flow in that direction through the woods over the
Right.
ground.
Yeah,
the
it's
same
always been
water.
a run. It's a natural run there. Yeah.
Yes. The only concern here would be silt. It's the
Yeah.
same water, but now you got silt. They designed a catch basin, a detention basin to try to remedy the silt, which is fine. But we'd have to rely on the engineer's calculations, which we don't have on this plan, so we can't speculate if that's adequate or not. But that's their attempt to catch silt, where the silt didn't exist before when it was forested or
Right.
bare ground. But it's the same water, though. They're not adding extra water to the other culverts.
But the caveat to that, Ray, though, is what the word Steve used earlier. You're creating a flashier situation.
Yes.
So if you bring that water down, off a now, for all intents and purposes, impervious surface, yes, you're not creating new water. You're just delivering it, potentially more water than was before in a
In one,
much more
one area.
rapidly, much more quickly.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's that thing we call the flood. So we don't want to back into a situation where all of a sudden you got a ponding situation against the road and a culvert that may or may not be adequate to it.
Yeah, even to caveat on that, Andy. I mean, there's a huge difference in water hitting a forest because you've got evapotranspiration, and then you've got the possibility of that water percolating down into the into the aquifer. I'm not sure, what the gravel situation is there, but yeah, I mean, for all practical purposes, like you said, a packed gravel parking lot is completely different. That would be considered an impervious surface, and so you really are adding water to that culvert. It's not. It's both the speed that it gets there, but there is a likelihood that there even more water will now get to that culvert than previously did. So just they really do need to consider that.
Yeah. Yep. These are the sort of things that they pay us the big bucks for, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they pay you the big bucks.
All right, folks, I don't want to spend all night on this one. Last thoughts, please, if any. Otherwise, let's move on. And I have a nice list of notes. We've done.
Yeah. I think
what
we've
we
covered
did
it.
with this. Any other thoughts on it? Last chance. Okay, let's move along. All right, we next on the agenda have Wetlands Bureau or related correspondence. We received 3 shoreland impact permits. 21 Craig Road, 96 Cottage Road, and Russell Drive. I do not. Naomi, did you send along copies of each of those letters?
I think one attachment says something about DES letters.
Okay,
I tried to
there we
group
go.
everything
Yep.
together.
There we go, the Shoreland.
Yeah, they're all 3 permits.
NHD Shoreland, okay. First one, Craig Road is next to Horace Lake. Impacting 4,000 square feet of protected shoreland to construct a foundation under a non-conforming primary structure and deck. So it sounds like work to bring it into conforming, perhaps. Proper to permit those things. Second one, Cottage Road is also Horace Lake. Impact 8,000 square feet in order to construct an addition to the primary structure with the deck, modify parking area, install a well and septic system. Very good. Bigger project. Another one, Russell Drive, it's Horace Lake also. Impact 3,000 square feet of protected shoreland to construct 2 sets of stairs and a shed and install portions of a septic. Unless anybody has otherwise, I will claim those are noted without comment. Very good. Moving back to the agenda, moving along. Let's work on to into some of the other items. And I'll toss this one over to you, Steve. Can you update us where we are with Hardwick?
Perhaps Naomi could. She had sent the purchase and sale over to Hardwick. So is that all signed, Naomi?
Yeah, purchase and sale signed. The deposit for $1,000 has been done, and Mitchell's office is working on going forward so that we are going to close on or before March 1st of 2021. So everything got in, the funds got encumbered, the selectmen encumbered all the funds out of the 2020. So you guys are good to go. So your warrant article next would be 140 versus the 290 like we talked about.
Great.
Nope, so I'm just waiting on Laura to do the, whatever that she's gonna have to do the title search. She can't do it, but she'll have someone do it. And then we'll plan on doing the closing. Like I said, we worked out the date with Jennifer and Blair so that it was not right in January, but it wasn't too far away. But it all came together, I think, a couple days before the end of the year, and we got a purchase ordered and the check got cut, so.
Nice.
All right, sounds like we're all set on that one. Great. And Steve, on other thoughts in the area, anything to share tonight?
Yeah, just on the email that is an attachment there that I previously sent out, just kind of has the general area on a couple of maps. On that spreadsheet PDF, we've got basically the names of some of the other landowners. So, kind of thinking one or two things. Like I've tried to call Huntingtons think they're over in Vermont. I had emailed that other son earlier this spring and just haven't heard anything from them. Jeremy said he could take that on if he wanted to, but there's a couple you can see, there's a few different private parcels up in there that would make a great deal of sense. The first one, Clark, looks like they live out in California. And so I just wanted to, to make sure that, I guess we could just ask Jeremy to try to track some of these folks down under the hourly to see if we can, talk over with them if they have any interest in selling or do some kind of a conservation action, whether that's an easement. I mean, I think the best thing for the town is always to purchase, and fee whenever possible. And, you can just see from the maps, I guess the one that I sent out earlier was color, but these parcels all make a great deal of sense. So, folks think either, me or Jeremy, or if anybody else wants to try to reach out to any of these folks. I was kind of thinking about drafting up a more formal letter, from the Conservation Commission and just drop it to their mailing addresses as well. That
I would
sounds
think if
reasonable.
one's in California, Steve, that would be a great start. Instead of spending a lot of time chasing to a dead end, you could just, if they're not interested, they could tell you right away, or maybe it would spark some interest. But, the tax card has their mailing address, which is, if they're in California, it's easier.
Yeah, just a drop mail.
Yeah, I'll just let you know, Steve, and to the rest of the board, that I know Huntingtons are not interested in selling or getting rid of their property at all. I have had
Oh, okay.
contact with them over the years, so.
Okay. That's good to know. Yeah,
That's
because they didn't respond at all.
Yeah, that was actually, I had a conversation with them in August. One of the sons that I knew the parents, I knew them quite well, so I occasionally have a conversation occasionally with them.
Okay. Well, if they ever change their minds, that would be an excellent parcel to conserve.
that's the largest of the bunch, and it's
I think
frontage
it's
is
about
on a Class
260
6.
acres, right, Steve? 260-ish? 250,
No,
260?
146.
Oh, I was thinking there was another parcel up there. Maybe it's not
It
theirs,
might.
maybe it's an abutters.
Yeah. So there's the, knowing that, we won't spend any more time trying to contact them. So there's Finn and Clark are the other two.
Yeah, I don't have any contact with those, so I don't know them.
Okay, we'll try to generate a letter or something and just get Andy to sign it.
Yeah, that lot 28, lot 37.
Yep.
Sounds like a good idea.
And then, yeah, just, generally, I don't know if there's any, depending on how much time we end up spending on this stuff, if we should consider, having like a separate kind of a open space committee meeting again, or just keep going about it the way we're doing it now.
I don't know, it seems like seems a little redundant for a separate meeting, unless we find we don't have time to consider this aspect of the commission during commission meetings.
Okay. You know, I was kind of perusing the tax map too. I don't have the name on me right now or anything, but there's a 200 acre plus parcel that connects on to Eastman that probably fire that person off a letter as well.
Which direction from the Eastman property is that?
I want to say kind of like south east of it on the southeast side.
Is that about Huntington? Would it come out on the Huntington side?
No, it was in Ware.
No, but would it come back toward the Huntington line if it's southeast?
No, Hopkinton line is
That would be northeast.
northeast.
Oh, northeast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whose land is that? Do you know?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I was looking at it on the assessor's database.
Oh, I'll have to
Just
look.
yeah, it's a big chunk though, real big.
Yeah. I'm just curious who owns that.
Yeah, I didn't recognize the name or anything, but I was like, wow, I didn't remember there was that much property there. So
Oh.
Why don't you, if you come across that, Steve, circulate it just for future consideration.
well, what I'm going to do is I'll just draft up 3 or 4 letters and just send that to everybody, you know, for your signature. But I'll just, you know, so everybody has an idea of who the letters are going to.
Okay. Anything to add at this point about ATV use around and on Eastman?
Yeah, sure. So we've had, you know, a couple different reports come up of folks using the tracks, and then also someone created a trail over on the Rattlesnake side. So that got reported to Kevin Bronson. And then I think Haley, not Haley, another one of the Naces, I don't know if that's Haley's mother, but reported some ATVs on the tracks the other day. And I just think everybody probably got emailed or, but, you know, let Kevin Bronson know, our local conservation officer. That's about all we can really do, you know.
We can't do anything if they stay on the tracks anyway. We don't have ownership of that.
Right, we can't, right. But
Yeah.
that's what I said in that email. But they clearly were getting off onto the Eastman on that other report. It's probably the same people.
Mm. There seems to be a lot of activity with four-wheelers. In fact, what day was it? Sunday. One day last weekend, I don't know which day it was. I think it was Sunday. I went by Country 3 Corners and there were four-wheelers in there with no number plates on or anything. They were in there getting gas. So they've just come off some trail and in there gassing up. So
I didn't think you could do that in Ware.
yeah. Wow, I was kind of shocked to see 4 of them sitting there at the gas at the pumps.
Sounds more like
they were,
Durham.
yeah, they were young kids. I mean, they weren't very old. I'm guessing between 16 and 18.
Oh, it's definitely a going hobby.
Mm.
All right. Oh boy. Now we got a chewy one, a poor farm forest adverse ownership claim.
Yeah.
That sounds like a nightmare. Would you like to
But-
speak to that one, Steve? We got a good list for you here.
Yeah, sure. I think Naomi was going to go ahead and check with Laura and see how she wanted to proceed with that.
Yeah, I guess, is he claiming that we have some of his land? Is that what he's claiming?
Yeah, that's affirmative. Yeah.
Okay, because he has a long, narrow strip according to the tax map, and then we own, like, there's a few people that abut him. We own one of the lots on the left. I have no idea when we ended up getting it. I tried to research, but the tax card led me to a stop. But anyway, Laura, Steve had asked me to get Laura to weigh in about it. So what I did, Steve, is I forwarded the entire chain starting from when Steve got a hold of you explaining the whole, what he thought. I guess he thinks he has 55 and a half acres when he's only got 20 or something on his tax card. And so I sent her that whole thing and asked her if, I said to Laura, hi, see the chain below and let me know your thoughts about Steve's question. And your question at the time was to get advice from Laura on how to proceed with a title dispute. So what she said was, I do believe this is something the town should resolve. Ideally, the town and Mr. Caggiano would split the cost of a surveyor to serve the disputed boundary, and in the event that the discrepancy cannot be resolved by deeds, we would prepare and file a boundary line agreement setting a new boundary line. If Mr. Caggiano won't participate, then the town should consider hiring a survey to survey at least this boundary, if not the entirety of the town's parcel. If the deed Steve references is correct, this is obviously a very old transaction that doesn't involve a title search or insurance at its inception. So it sounds like she would like us to get it resolved, but she'd like to see if he'd split the cost of the survey first.
Okay. And I can, I mean, here's some thoughts, and there's definitely some lingo differences here between, I mean, my background's forestry and had a couple of different surveying courses and familiar with, kind of what I was saying there is we need to go back into the chain of title, which is going to be far more than like if you were going to buy a house, they only usually, I think they go 50 years back, but this thing could be going back hundreds of years. And looking, pulling together those documents to see if we can ascertain what the town's ownership was, because the adverse claim goes to a plat that was prepared by a licensed surveyor that's probably newer than anything we have. But I'm just really puzzled by that survey plat. And when you look at the other owners in the same general line, it goes to a stone wall for everybody else, and that's what the town, that's what we thought we owned. So it's pretty consistent with the shape of the rest of the parcels around there. So it's going to take, someone who's good going back into the registry of deeds and then going out there and looking, in the field, because it's just a kind of a strange plat. So I guess based on Laura's email, what I would suggest is that we, under the hourly agreement, we have Jeremy prepare a letter to Caggiano, I think is how you say it, asking if he would be willing to split the cost of surveyors services to resolve this, and at the same time have Meadowson start to prepare a request for proposal to be compliant with the town's purchasing policy, because this is clearly going to go over $1,000. And then we would probably, we would have more information at our next meeting to be able to act.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the right way. Laura said, you know, because I have no idea what we'll find, but you're right. I think she suggests that we take care of it now because we've been brought to our attention versus pushing it away. At first, I wasn't sure what he was trying to do, but what if he tells us no? I guess, I mean, I just feel that he sounds, it sounded in the email like, you know, by the way, you've got some of my land, you know. I would think he would try to jump on and split the cost to make it, you know, that one line. We're not doing his whole lot, but we're only
Yeah,
gonna
he
do
may
the
or
line that we share.
yeah, agreed, right.
So I just want to clarify, this person owns this land, lives in Massachusetts or lives on this land now?
Massachusetts.
Lives
Yes.
in Massachusetts. Does he rent the house to someone on the land?
There's a house there. I don't know if he rents it or if he comes up and stays. I don't know.
And he bought it in 2003?
That's what the
according to
tax card, I think, says.
Who did he buy it from, Naomi?
Patnod?
Patnod?
Yeah.
Oh, from
So
who? So, which
how-
Patnod?
Sylvia and David.
Sylvia? Yeah, Sylvia and David. Okay.
So my question, we've done a lot of land deals in the past. So this person doesn't even live there, buys the land and says, oh, you're on my land. And like Naomi says, he thinks he owns 50 acres. The thing clearly says 22 and a half. I would assume from my experience, the person that's disputing it should be the one surveying it, not the person being disputed. So if you own a piece of land and somebody comes up to you and says, hey, your land is on mine, it shouldn't be up to you to survey what you think is already yours. It should be up to him to prove it. He's bringing the accusation. I
He
don't know.
already has.
He has.
He already has. He's got a newer survey than we do. We don't even have a plat.
Oh,
So he's got a newer survey. So the question becomes, did the surveyor who prepared the plat at the time make an error? You know,
Right.
there's a couple of basic premises here. One is whatever the tax map says and Avatar says, ignore it. It has no relevance at all. You know, this is all about deeds and monuments, and it's going to be tricky because my feeling is the town, more than likely, this is one of the older ownerships in the town of Ware. So, you know, and just looking at the basic shapes without even trying to dig back in the file, I mean, something's kind of screwy about it because, like I said, the other parcels that are all lined up in the same configuration go to a wall. So I don't know why someone would have just deeded to the edge of the wetland, but it could have happened. So we need someone to actually, you know, it gets painful too because you can only do so much online. You've got to go to the registry and then you've got to read those old hand scratch deeds.
Well, I don't think the
that are-
registry is even open, Steve. It wasn't. Back along, I tried to go down to do some research and they weren't open to the public.
Yes, we'll have to find that out. But I mean, that's still, I don't think
Yeah.
that stops us from getting a price or anything.
No. Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, if Dave and Sylvia sold that property, who I know quite well, I would think that they would know what they had, where the boundary lines were. That land's been in the family for years.
Yeah, remember, we didn't blaze those boundaries until pretty recently. And then, you know, the odd thing though is that he had noticed the very old Poor Farm guide that was posted to the website, but maybe they just never noticed that guide or anything.
I don't know.
Yeah, you know, the other part of this too is they may have known there was a, you know, I didn't look and see what kind of deed he had, if he had a quitclaim deed, you know, and that they knew there was a boundary issue, or if they went with a warranty deed.
I don't know.
Sure sounds like a sticky wicket.
Yeah, Steve, on your comment about the avatar and the tax maps, those were done. I know there's a lot of thoughts about it, but those were taken. We have the original Bob Todd hand-drawn pieces that were put on, and what you're seeing is something that's been digitized from the hand-drawn age to the digitized. I do know that they're, obviously not etched in stone or anything. You have to go by the deed because more or less is more or less. You could have more, you could have less. But, it was taken from back when we first did tax maps. Bob Todd did them by hand, and there's cards and all the book and page and stuff. But what it looks like today is more the digitized fashion. So, it could be right, could be wrong, but at the same time, probably we should resolve what we can resolve. But, it is used a lot of times by a lot of people. And I truly believe that you do have to do your due diligence. It's a good starting point.
Did Bob
Yeah, what I was
Todd?
going to,
Oh, go ahead, Steve.
I was just going to say, from a real legal perspective, tax maps have no relevance. Is just what I was trying to say. Not that Avatar did anything wrong. Avatar just, if you look in the tax card, Avatar said, "Yep, noted that there's a dispute," and didn't, I don't even think told us about it.
Yeah, I'm just saying, every town has tax maps, so you to start somewhere. Whether they're, pieces of property have been surveyed right and wrong, and along the way, we correct them as we get surveys. But if nothing's been touched for years, we don't know about it. We have the best information we have from Bob Todd's information in the 70s.
Oh yeah, and that's fine. Yeah,
I
exactly.
think the point is that that's not where anything can be resolved.
Right.
No, it's going to take someone, like he said, to go down and watch the hand-drawn deeds. But it would be
Yeah.
interesting to know if it was warranty or quick claim or whatever.
Yeah, and there isn't even necessarily a survey plat for something as old as our holding. So that's the, you have to go back and recreate the meets and bounds description.
Oh.
Ray, what do you think with that additional information about, potentially requesting split on some additional work for somebody we hire?
Well, I didn't know that, I didn't pay attention at first that he had had it surveyed, and that's how he came to that conclusion. So he may not want, he already paid someone once, he might not want to do it again. He might feel that he's right, and now we have to prove that he's not,
Yeah.
if that's the case.
Just to be clear on this, he did not have it surveyed, but the property survey plat is much newer that he provided. So there's a registered plat that says he owns it from a licensed surveyor.
That's a tough thing
Yeah.
to analyze.
Steve, does that date back to about 2000 or so? 2003, or associated with the time when he purchased?
I
Or
couldn't
is
tell you. I couldn't tell you offhand, but I just went
Okay.
in there and looked at it. It was a modern plat, so I mean, it
Right.
wasn't, it wasn't ridiculously old.
Hmm.
I mean, factually, it doesn't matter. If you had a plat that was done in 1970, to like 1 to 300 accuracy, and we have no plat, his plat is newer than ours, and you would assume that there's at least some validity to his concern.
All right, well, I don't think there's any foregone conclusion here. We just have to go where the information, if we can generate it, would take us.
Hmm.
Okay, to summarize then, is everyone good with the action of under the hourly agreement?
As a
Jeremy?
motion.
No, it doesn't. I don't think it needs to be a motion.
No,
No, I mean, this doesn't need, because we're not really spending much or anything at this point. I mean, Jeremy would have a couple hours into it to prepare a statement of work for our review, and also to prepare a letter to the landowner asking if he's willing to split the cost. So, I mean, if you feel like we need to do a motion, that's fine, but otherwise it's just, spending money out of the hourly agreement. And I don't know, Naomi can probably answer this. Do we need to, we're in between the town vote and change in years, do we need to use the conservation fund for this? In that case, we might need a motion.
Steve, I would think where we're like in between, that's the safest because we don't know what March is gonna bring,
Right.
you know? You can make the motion and if it drags out that, but you know, if you make the motion and it drags out and he bills us after, you know what I mean? You're safe to get him started that way, but it may come out different in the end. Depends on timing.
Well, I'm comfortable if it's town forest property. The presumption being, we, in this case, need to defend our claim to the property. That's a legit
Yeah,
expenditure for town forest work. So, Steve, I'm comfortable with what you're suggesting there. If we find it comes into question down the road, then next month we need a motion to otherwise authorize Jeremy to get compensated through the conservation fund.
It doesn't sound like he's got a lot of work ahead of him. I don't sound like it's gonna be a big amount of money.
Right. So
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with that. And given that it's town forest account work, I agree with you.
Okay, sounds good. Hey, I just want to give you guys a little background too, just in driving around the general area. So this guy, Steve, has amassed quite a bit of property down on the New Boston Ware Town line. So this isn't like his only property in the area. He's
Good to
actually a
know.
pretty big landowner.
mhm.
Well, then sounds like you'd be motivated and want to be knowledgeable. So, you know, not a time for counting chickens, I guess. We'll just see where it takes us.
Sounds good.
Mm,
Very good. Thank you. Naomi, what's the plan for deliberative session this year?
It's going, right now, we've got it scheduled for Saturday, February 6th, in person in the gym. Not the calf. It's gonna be social distancing, masks, hand sanitizer, but there's room for well over 100 chairs at the 6 feet apart. So we don't ever get more than probably the average of 50 to 70 people. This warrant isn't very long because it was based on need, not want. So we're gonna press forward with an in-person deliberative session, February 6th. So we're gonna start at 9. And like your other articles, you know where you are.
Yeah,
They're near the end. You're not at the end because there's 2 petitions behind you.
thank you. All right, so this happens before our next meeting. I'm not sure whether, under those conditions, I'll put this lightly, whether I'll be authorized to attend or not. Any other thoughts from other members? It's always good to have a dedicated commissioner available to speak to questions. It certainly's worked against us in years past. Last year, I sat in on it and certainly no regrets. Good civics lesson for one of my daughters, but I doubt that I'll be there this year.
I don't think I'm knowledgeable yet enough to be there. I have to learn a little bit more about what we're doing.
Sure.
Would Steve be available?
I'm not sure right now if I'll be around that weekend or not. If I'm around, yeah, I could try to get down there.
You're not around. You're gone.
Oh, yeah, this is Bill, and I am gonna be in very northern Maine that whole week.
Naomi, question for you. Any opportunity for a call in during the meeting? Will it be simulcast channel 6 and all, or? Whatever.
I'm not sure how we're gonna do it yet. Moving to the gym poses a few more problems that we haven't ironed out yet. So I can't answer that tonight because I have to see what we're gonna,
Okay,
how that's gonna work. We gotta work with the school and the IT. We need a drop for Wi-Fi and some other things.
yeah,
What I can do if someone's around, I mean, I'm happy to, instead of sitting there all the time, I could text one of you when we're getting to like one article ahead of it, so you don't have to sit there all day. And you can come in and out. You know, we'll see. I mean, I
yeah.
think we're still working with it and we can stay in touch with each other, I guess.
Do the best we can with it.
Yeah, that's all we can. I think for the most part, I think there's a pretty good relationship or better relationship, obviously, that with the between the board and us, and I think probably we should be able to take it and run with a torch there. I can't see it being a problem, and Sherry's going to be there at deliberative session anyway, so.
I am?
Yeah, so I'm just
Kidding.
saying, I think, you know, and I think you have coverage. If we get pushed to shove, I think we have coverage.
And Andy, I can be a body there. Even if I have you on the phone and if I get asked a question, I can relay that to you and then relay your answer. If something like that is
Something along those lines, Mike, would work for me.
okay.
I'm not planning on going anywhere anytime soon, so I do anticipate being around. Good, thank you. Let's see, moving down the agenda, I'm looking at mail received. Looking for a letter from.
Yeah, it's really just, I think both of them were follow-ups from the annual monitoring, both from PLC and from Society for Protection of Hampshire Forest. They both were kind of, one was just a cover letter,
Okay.
but the society actually had, if
Yeah,
you're looking at, and I apologize for the extra pages if you got them, but the actual forestry sent, the society sent actually a couple, looks like questionnaire type things. Did you see the attachments to that letter?
Oh, there we go.
It
Yeah,
just said
I'm
that-
sorry. Yeah,
yeah.
it's a CC.
There's a couple of
Receipt,
extra
mail
pages because my
received.
scanner picks
Gotcha.
up paper.
Yeah, I just didn't click over to the right tab fast enough. There we go. Yeah, PLC is,
PLC did the Breed Brook, Eastman, and Chevy Hill.
yeah, that was pretty.
And
functioning.
Society did the Brown Family Trust, which is Charles
Right.
and Sylvia, as well as Purington Trust for Dale.
Right.
But it looked like there was a questionnaire, and maybe it's they answered the questions. I guess, yeah, they did. Potential, none found. Okay, sorry about
All
that.
right, so that doesn't include the one item that Steve, you were involved with, and it sounds like we're resolved.
Collins
Collins
Landing.
Landing, right. We haven't mentioned that tonight.
No.
Yeah, that was, Meadowson went ahead and sent in the monitoring form because of all that survey work that we had done out there. And there were a couple of trailers parked on the property. And I just figured out who the owner was, looking at the assessor's database, and gave them a call, and they said they'd move the trailers.
Thank you. I appreciate you do.
Yeah, Steve, you had me totally baffled. You had the wrong Naomi the first time.
Yeah, that happened.
Because I'm like, what are you talking about, Steve?
You were CC on that, but no,
No, you sent it just to me and said Dave will move the trailers. I'm like, what is he talking about? Then I went down further and I see you meant to send it to the other girl.
Oh, that went to you, because Andy told me I didn't get it to her, and I sent it to her, but,
I think,
Yeah, no, you sent it to me and I was like, what the heck is he? So I followed your chain to the bottom and I see the last name was different. The first name was the same, which is very unique. But then I was like, oh, he wasn't looking for me. So
don't mind, I'm slowly losing it.
aren't we all?
Yeah.
Aren't we all? All right, so that seems squared away. Good. And now comes that time. Any other points of business this month for the commission? Oh,
Quick question.
Sure.
Do we need to make any motion to make that private session we had last month open to the public?
I would just, until you've actually done the deal, I think I would hold on another month.
Okay.
Or you could do it in March or something. I just think until all we have is a P&S and a deposit, we haven't done anything more. I think it should wait. That's my personal opinion, but I don't have a vote, so.
that seems to make sense, but I appreciate you bringing it up, Mike. I did have one more thing. We've been struggling to get everybody tagged on this conservation email, the group broadcast. It seemed as though Sherry received my test. Frankly, I'm not even sure whether I received my test for that matter.
Test.
I think I did.
Yeah,
I think I did. Steve, did you?
I didn't have anything. I didn't get anything.
There- I just-
Yeah, but I didn't know.
The title was test, but it was I had a 2-line email saying, trying to get everybody on the conservation email so that, when folks try to get in touch with one of us, he or she gets in touch with all of us.
Yeah.
Andy,
Yeah,
I think the Zoom invite that I did, because, actually not the Zoom, the invite that has all of the documents tonight, I believe, Mike, you got all yours.
Yep.
And I added Ray LeMay as well. So I think that has everybody's on there, Andy, if that helps.
Might be my test went to everybody's spam.
Yeah, I received an email from Naomi with all the documents, but I didn't receive anything from you, Andy.
That's curious.
Yeah, I don't have
There it is.
anything either. Yeah.
Andy, I got
Okay.
mine and I returned it to you this morning.
Yes, thanks, Bill. You're the one who had the direct response on that. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, I didn't get it either.
But what Naomi sent out, you did receive.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
Naomi, are you all the time sending those out by conservation at Ware as opposed to our individual email address?
No, so tonight I sent them individually because I have to have the IT guy add Ray and I have to fix, I think, Mike. So I do you guys individually. And so what I honestly do, Andy, is I take one of the last ones I knew worked and I reuse it. I go to send and I reply to all. And then that's what I did this time. But I think I have Mike wrong and I got to add Ray to the group.
Okay. So,
I do it individually.
yep. Commissioners, if you have the sense that you're not receiving a ping on those conservation emails, let me know or let me and let Naomi know. So Mike, you should get fixed on that. And Ray, you should hopefully pretty shortly be on the list so that anybody emailing conservation@ware.nh.gov gets to all of us, or at least has a chance to get to us. Anything else for the night?
Can I just ask a question? Your next meeting would be February. I believe Bill's going to be gone, and Steve, are you going to be gone too? It would be February 10th. I just want to you're gonna have a quorum issue, but you shouldn't. I mean, I know Bill's not around.
I think I'll be around. I'm not sure, but I mean, I can always just call in.
All right, no, and you have now a full 7 people, so you should be able to come up with a quorum with 4 of you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's one of those times where the addition doesn't do anything but help us. So thank you, Ray.
Welcome.
And thanks for letting me know that, reminding me that Bill's not going to be around for that one. Anything else?
Mm.
And let's have that final motion from someone.
Make a
This is
motion.
Bill.
Go ahead,
Steve.
Bill.
This is Bill. I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Oh, I cut you out, Steve, but that'll work. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Adjourn at 8:37. Thank you and good night.